Hi friends, we're going to make our own farm. So we need crayons with the wrappers peeled off, lots of different textures to use. You can even use the side of the milk crate or even the fan if it's unplugged and safe to use. That has a good texture. We are going to use background paper. We are going to use plastic envelopes to hold our little pieces after they're all cut out. Put your name and class code on a Post-it note and inside the envelope. Don't write on the outside because I use those plastic envelopes over and over. Tape to put your background together and a printout of Let's Make a Farm. Don't forget to put your name and class code on these. Then what we're going to do is we're going to learn about texture. Texture is an element of art. It is a way to show the bumpiness and patterns on something. It can also mean the way something feels. So you're going to do crayon rubbing texture onto your animals, then you'll cut out your animals. So remember, when you're cutting, your scissors should stay right in front of your belly button, facing away from you, and you turn the paper, not the scissors. When you are doing this project, you can choose just a couple of animals that you need to, you will not be able to fit all of these in your farm. You're going to put a piece of texture behind your paper, and remember to push down and rub with the side of the crayon. So if you use the tippy top of the crayon, it's not going to work as well, and you have to press very firmly when you pinch and press the crayon. If you use the point or the tip, it's probably going to go in between the grooves of your texture and not show the texture as well. So use the side of your crayon and push down really hard and firmly towards the table as you rub back and forth, back and forth. So choose a few animals that you want to include in your farm. And then after you rub them, you're going to cut them out. We're not going to use all the animals, so just choose your favorite couple ones. Now, we're also going to need a few things for the background. I have some ideas for you, like a tractor, maybe a bale of hay, or whatever you want to add to your farm. And make sure you're changing different textures and you're changing the color and you're using lots of different textures. Now you can see I made an oops. I did purple instead of black because it looked the same, but you can cover up with a layer over top. So layering means overlapping. And also, I might turn this into a beautiful oops because mistakes happen, right? So you have scrap paper that you're working on. You're going to be cutting all of these things out. And so that means you can use the background of this paper to check a color if you're not sure if it's a dark crayon or black or purple. You don't really know exactly which color it is. I could even overlap. So for the fox, I did orange and brown. For the chicken, I'm switching colors. I can add lots of different colors for different areas, making sure that I have texture in the background. So when I'm using the background of the paper and I'm testing out a color, I could just kind of like scribble on the side because I know that I'm going to be cutting that part off. After you've chosen a few pieces for your farm, maybe it's equipment or food or animals, and you've added lots of different texture and lots of different color, then you can begin to cut them out. So here you see me test out that crayon to make sure I'm actually working with black, and I'm noticing that I can use the point of the crayon on little tiny texture. It doesn't poke through the bumps. But when I use a bigger texture with bigger holes, like maybe a Lego or something, that's when the point of the crayon tends to poke through. So if your texture is very, very tiny, then maybe using the point of your crayon's okay. And if you scribble outside of the lines, don't worry about it. You're going to cut that part off anyways. So you can see lots of different textures that I'm trying and experimenting. I want you to try lots of different textures. And now I'm doing the wheelbarrow. So I'm doing just that section brown. Then I'm going to switch to a different color for the wheel. And that's where you notice my crayon is poking through because I couldn't use the tippy top of the crayon when it was, the bumps of the Lego are really far apart. So switcheroonie and try different textures. Make your background farm is next. So think of what else you can draw on the background, like butterflies, bees, spiders. You can add lots of different things, and some of it can be drawn on. You don't have to do all of this in collage. So remember, cutting out and gluing on is collage. And you can combine some collage. You can also do some drawing, and I'll show you some of that on the background. I want you to get creative. Add lots of texture and make it your own. So here's how we do the background. We're going to be folding the paper in half, and then we're going to have a floor or a ground, and then we're going to have the background. So here we go. We're going to fold it in half, and if you're not good at folding, just try your best. And then after you open it back up, it doesn't have to be exactly in the middle. That's okay. Choose where you want the floor to be, or where does the ground meet the sky. Make a little mark there right on the fold, then cut and stop at your line. Don't go past your line. Now you're going to fold up the bottom on one side, and then fold up the bottom on the other side. We are human and we make mistakes. If you make a mistake, just try again. You do not have to get a whole new paper if you make a mistake. We're going to be taping this down to hold it up, where we just overlap them. But first, we have to color on it. So let's leave it flat. And this will be way easier to color on if it's flat. So let's make a background. What do we want to choose? We could do a barn. Here's some ideas. We could do a hay bale. You could make corn. I'm going to just draw my pile of hay. And then, that pile of hay makes me think of a pile of leaves. That makes me feel like fun. Let's do lots of different leaves. Does it all have to be textured? No, not all of it. But we do want to make sure we add some texture and lots of texture all over. So some spots I'll add texture, and some spots I'll just do regular coloring with crayons. You could use color pencils or crayons, but for rubbing and getting texture, crayons, I think, work the best. Here I did another beautiful oops. I accidentally grabbed what I thought was red, and I did some pink leaves. Oops. There's no pink leaves in real life. I'm just going to do a switcheroonie and color over top. Do your layers overlapping. You can go back over your pink with red, no problem. Here I'm making a pitchfork to shovel hay or rake my leaves. And then I'm going to go over my pencil lines with a dark color. So if you do any pencil lines, you should be outlining them with black or any dark color. You could choose dark brown, but you're the artist, you get to choose. Here I'm going to do a pumpkin. Maybe I'll add some texture. Let's stop and put something behind. And that looks cool. Lego background. That's a Lego pumpkin. Now I'm going to add layers overlapping. So I'm going to add some yellowy orange and brown to my hay. Makes it look more interesting. Let's do some grass. Remember that from the fold down is all going to be where the dirt and grass is. And from the fold up is what we're looking at on the ground. So let's see. It starts with, I'm going to put a barn in the background. Make sure I have some extra texture. And then I'm going to cut it out. And I could have this be added to my background, or I could have just drawn one on. Now, it's up to you if you want to do more collage or more hand drawing. I don't even have to do color in on my animals. You could hand draw all of your animals yourself as well. Make sure you're adding texture and then cutting them out, but you don't have to trace or use the pictures that I give you. They could maybe just be inspiration to get you started. Here's an ear of corn growing on a stalk of corn. And then I want to add, what else? I think it needs some dirt. And maybe I'm going to have my pigs be in a puddle of mud. So how could I make that look different than all the other dirt? Let's see. I'm going to brainstorm about that while I cut this out. So I'm going to make sure my scissors are pointed away and I turn my paper, not my scissors. Just do your best on cutting. If you're not good at cutting, then practice makes us better. Practice makes progress. There's no such thing as perfect, so don't worry. Just keep going. Try your best. And then, I could have my barn kind of hanging off the edge. Not sure if I want it hanging off the edge or not, but I'm going to glue it down. Remember to put your glue stick up just a little bit. If it's up too high, it can snap off. So I need to flip over my barn and put glue stick on the back and use a scrap paper so your glue stick does not get all over the table. And make sure you're using enough glue stick so that it doesn't fall off your paper. That's really important. A lot of times people don't use enough glue stick. Then I'm going to make sure it goes all the way around the edge, and then I'm going to put it down at the fold. If this is for your background, it can't go past that fold. That's important. So, I want to do sky. I forgot to do the sky. So it's going to be easier for me to do the sky before I glue the barn down. So I'm going to peel it back a little bit. I might need to add more glue. And then I'm going to add texture in the background for my blue sky. The blue sky goes all the way down to the bottom. It does not just go at the top. Remember that when we look at the sky, it does not just stop. It goes all the way down to the ground. Please make sure you look around you and find some interesting textures. We want lots of different textures. We don't have to keep using the same one over and over again. Here I'm just layering strips of paper over and over themselves in all different ways. And remember we did the leaf rubbings with our crayon? Something like that, even if it's flat paper, overlapping paper will work. Or the fan, if it's unplugged and it's safe to use, then we can carefully rub on top of that. I'm using a darker blue this time to again overlap layers and add more texture. And I'm carefully going around the barn. I could even use the milk crate. That added some really cool textures last time when we did our practice and I showed you the milk crate. So now I'm going to layer, overlap brown and yellow. I'm going to go over, what if I break a crayon? That's okay, accidents happen, and broken crayons still color. So I'm going to outline all my pencil lines now with a dark crayon so that everything shows up nicely from a distance. These are going to be on display. So these are going to be up for everybody to see, and we want to make sure that they can see everything from far and from a distance. So outlining all your pencil lines with a dark color is important. This is going to be my mud puddle for the piggy. Look what I did. I grabbed purple instead of black. I'm going to go over it with a little different color. Make it a beautiful And folding your paper. I forgot to put my name on. I'm doing lots of today, aren't I? That's okay. I'm human. And we make mistakes. That's okay. Don't forget your class code and your name on the back. Then you can put one piece of tape. And one piece of tape that's about 3 fingers long should be enough to hold it all together. Giving it an extra little fold to make sure it's nice and square. This is good, thick, expensive art paper. This is not just free draw paper, so it's going to hold itself up nicely. So when we cut out our animals, I want you to do your best. You do not have to cut around every little single detail. If you cut a square around the animal and that's the best you can do, that's okay. So I'm going to fold over a little bit at the bottom, at the piggy's feet. And that's going to create a little tiny flap that I can glue and put down on my farm. So here's another piggy. Let's see how many animals I have space for. This one I'm going to do a little bit more cutting. Remember to keep your scissors pointing away from your body and turn the paper, not the scissors. So on this piggy, I'm going to leave some extra space below his feet and give myself some extra folding paper to make a little tiny flap. And that's what's going to be able to hold up the piggy, and it's going to stand up when I glue it. Watch what I fold. Just a little bit. A little flap here at the bottom. And that's where I'm going to put the glue, on that tiny little edge. And then I will push it down to the floor or the ground, and it's going to make my piggy stand up. Make sure you're using enough glue and you're pushing it down really firmly, hard onto the floor. So now my piggy's in its mud puddle. And I'm going to find my other piggy. That was a different texture, wasn't it? That was a Lego in the background. I folded up above his feet a little bit, and that's okay. Nobody's perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. Accidents happen, so just roll with it. What if my piggy is in the mud puddle and we can't see the bottoms of his paws or his feet or his hoofs because they're down in the mud? So use your glue stick over a scrap paper so it's not getting all over the table. Then we're going to push and fold and press. Pull it back up, and it should stand up on its own. Now remember to use lots of different textures. Choose as many animals as you want to make fit. Some things can be colored on, some things can be glued on and collaged onto the background. Some things will be standing up, and you can draw your own tractor or use the one I give you. Now, I want to do another beautiful oops to show you what can happen. If I cut into the tire by accident, should I cry and throw a fit? No, I'm going to just roll with it and be flexible and leave yourself a little bit on the bottom for folding. And if you forgot to do that, no problem. Maybe you just fold up on the tires and then it looks like the tires are down in the dirt. Here's my mistake right here. I'm going to put a little bit of tape. That's why they make tape. No problem. Also, they make erasers because humans make lots of mistakes. I'm going to cut down on both sides and then across for those really tricky areas. I just want to remind you of a trick for cutting. You don't always have to keep going in the same direction when you cut. You can take your scissors out and away and then come at it from a different direction. Here, when we glue, make sure you're using your glue stick on top of scrap paper to save yourself a lot of cleanup time. And then there's my tractor standing up on its own. I think that mine looks pretty full with 2 pigs and a tractor, a barn. I have 2 piles. I have hay, I have leaves, I have a pumpkin. I feel like I've got a lot on there. I could add a few more things, maybe a sun or a bumblebee or a butterfly, but it's up to you how much you add. I want you to make it look very full with lots of layers, lots of texture, lots of colors. And if we see a lot of white paper showing, then we'll know that you're not done yet. This will definitely take more than one class. Take your time and do your best work. And I'm going to show you with my bumblebee, it's very hard to do the textures after it's cut out. So I think that it's best to color in all your animals that you choose, undo all your texture before you cut them out. Okay, then after you cut it out, you can glue it to the background because this one's going to be flying in the sky, so it's going to be right up against the background of the blue. I cannot cut those little antennae. That's too hard. I'm going to go around them. That's okay. I am going to glue him down and oops, there we go. And how does it look? I feel all done. Here's one that I did for practice to show you that you can draw your own barn. I did lots of texture. I left my sky open so that I can glue things up against it. I left my ground open. And here's the real one that I did for my final copy. Now, when you're using your glue sticks, please remember to put all the glue sticks lids back on. Screw them down, twist down before you put the lid on. Listen for the magic click. Put all your crayons back in the bowl. Clean up your area. Careful walking with scissors. Remember how to walk with scissors, please. And when you're all done, these will go on display, so we don't get to take them home yet, but we will get to take them home soon. I can't wait to see your creativity and your farm.